Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Red Wine and Cigarettes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Guys, tonight, our guest is one of my favorite people in the world. We have we have Lerato Makgetha in the building, who is my brother, actually. AKA Larry, AKA Son of Jerry. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So like you said, I'm an actor, I'm a musician, I'm a businessman, I'm a family man, I am a Christ man, I love all things beautiful and beautiful things like me. And it's a win-win situation. And yeah, man, I'm a hectic person, about principles and values. I am liberal at times when it comes to my thinking. I love having good conversation. It's one of my best things. Like I just love having great conversation where we get to interrogate the mind.
Okay, I don't know what happened there. We will wait for him to come back. But tonight, guys, our topic is romantic navigations, right? So let me unpack what romantic navigations are. I think that a lot of the time, emphasis when entering a relationship, emphasis that comes from people who are married, that comes from people in relationships, is the role of the man and the role of the woman in a relationship, as opposed to focusing on the relationship between the two parties who are navigating said relationship. I know I've said a lot of relationship things, but I can't find the word. And there was a video that I watched a while back, where this man was basically speaking about what people should be focusing on when they enter a relationship. And one of the things that he mentioned is that the basis of that should be, more than anything, friendship. That the basis of that should be, more than anything, friendship. It shouldn't be about what the one can do for the other. It should be, we are friends. Yes, our relationship goes beyond friendship. It's romantic, it is intimate, but we are friends before we are anything else. And for me, I think that I've had a big issue with certain expectations that come when you're in a relationship with someone. You first meet, you're vibing, you're going out together, and then when it becomes official, suddenly there's certain expectations placed on me, like I must dish out for you at a braai, or I must make sure that you are being fed, and. So as much as Larry will be back with us, as much as he's going to give us a married person's perspective, I thought that this is a broader conversation that extends also to boyfriend and girlfriend relationships, to life partner relationships, because we don't all subscribe to marriage. But the romantic relationship is not unique. It's the one thing that is true for all those situations. As we know, well, those who do watch the show know that Sibs has been married before, is no longer married. And I'm just curious to know, what was the relationship between you and your husband at the time? Like, what was the foundation for that? Was it friendship? Was it something else? Were you stuck in a situation where it was roles, or what was the situation?
Definitely friendship. I think there was a lot of understanding in the relationship. But that's also so important. Friendship is a really great foundation in any relationship, in whether you're life partners, whether you get married or whatever it is. Friendship is even the foundation of our relationship now. As much as we're not together, we still get along. You know what I mean? Why? Because we have the foundation of friendship. So Definitely, the foundation of friendship really helped us in that when we did eventually move in together and start living together, etc. There were no expectations in terms of gender roles. Everything was shared equally, and at times I would even say unequally. That he would probably be doing more of what gents would think are a female's role. So there was never any of that. But that was just because of conversations that were had when the relationship is starting, when you're developing the relationship, when you're developing the friendship. You, those conversations need to be had from up front of um, yes, this is who I am, this is the kind of person that I am. So you know what? I will say that I was very lucky in that because the friendship was such a solid foundation when we eventually moved in with each other and lived with each other, it was easy to not go, oh, as a woman, you must do this. Oh, as a man, you must do this. But, oh, this needs to be done. Who has the capacity? Does that make sense? So it becomes that kind of conversation more than anything else. And generally, I was lucky in that he always picked up the mantle and went, I'll do it. You know what I mean? So I come from a really I'm lucky a solid background from someone who understood that being in a relationship is not about the gender roles. Also, though, I think him having a single mother helped in that everyone did everything. So you're told there's no, yeah, a man does this, a woman does this. Everyone does everything in the house. So I know sometimes people talk about, oh, people from single households, whatever. But for me, that was my saving grace because that person never ever looked and went, yeah, but I'm a man, I must do this. It was just this needs to be done in the house, and that's it, and not a woman man thing. Even serving at a braai, like I mean, if anyone knows me, they know I'm one of the laziest people on absolute earth. Um, and I would do it just because I knew how much he does at home and how much he does that is out of the gender, you know what I mean? And for me, I would then be like, okay, I'm gonna do this for him more than anything else, not because society says I must, but I really had a great balance. And generally, I have a good balance in any relationship that I get into, but that's because from go, I tell you, this is me and this is who I am. So the foundation of friendship, the foundation of honesty and truth for me is very important.
I hear you, Sibs, and I think I resonate with a lot of what you're saying. With how at the beginning you meet and you guys are clear about who you are, about the friendship, and. But my experience has been that you will have those conversations at the beginning. You'll have a certain rhythm at the beginning, but once you become official, then suddenly the person I can only speak for the man in my life because I don't date women, but suddenly the man in my life has certain expectations of me. He suddenly expects me to not wear certain things that I wore before we were official. He suddenly expects me not to make my own independent decisions. Like I can't be telling him I'm going on a girls' night. He's like, why didn't you consult? He suddenly feels as though he can tell me that I can't smoke, even though I'm a smoker, because I must prepare my body to be with child. And I'm like, when did we have this conversation about being with child? You know what I mean? But this is what I'm speaking about. It's almost as though a certain entitlement once you are official. Linz, has this been your experience, or have you had a different experience to what I'm describing?
Wow, I've definitely had both experiences where there's been the foundation of friendship and also the experience where there's been mainly a romantic foundation And once you have agreed to be official, then there are these expectations, the whole clothing and how you speak, where you go, who you go with, who your friends are. And that's such a dangerous place to be. And something that I realized in relationships that I've been in through my experience is that most people who have these strange I'm gonna say it's strange because they really are strange, guys. These strange expectations in relationships have certain insecurities within themselves that they've decided not to work on, they've decided not to look at or acknowledge, and they choose to how do I put it, project their issues on you. So if you're a beautiful woman and you are then in a relationship, all of a sudden, if you wear a skirt, then it's too short. So most of the time, your partner would have certain insecurities in terms of how other people notice you, how other people perceive you, how you look, if you're too attractive. If I've been in relationships where someone has hit on me when I'm with my person, and the person got angry with me, and I'm like, it's not my fault. This is how I look, you know what I mean? And and then after that it proceeded to be, then don't wear this so that people don't hit on you, don't do this, don't put on makeup, don't socialize with people, don't engage with men, or you know, whatever the case may be. And that's a dangerous place to be. I watched the video that Babita spoke about earlier, and I really respected the perspective of being friends. And the nice thing about being friends is that you start your relationship on the basis of truth and honesty and transparency. And even if you are going through something that's a bit difficult, or you are noticing other people, you're then able to be like, yo, buddy, homie, love a friend. This is what happened to me. Or someone flirted with me the other day, and I liked it. And then you engage with, why did you like it? Because they noticed me and they didn't have to. You know, that type of thing. We're all human. And I think the issue then is we need to then understand that you, as much as you're a human being, the person you're in a relationship with is also a human being, and they enjoy certain attention. Then you need to discuss, where does it go from there? And people have different types of relationships, and you need to discuss how you navigate that dependent on the foundation of your relationship, hopefully being friendship. Friendship is really important to me as well. Yeah.
Guys, those who are watching, I really feel like what's happened here is that Lerato Makgetha had load shedding and did not check his load shedding schedule, like we said in the group, because men tend to be negligent about these things. But we respect your time, and we're going to carry on in the conversation. We obviously want you to engage with us as well. It's not just between us. So if you have any views that you'd like to share, please feel free. We'll read your comments and we'll structure our talking point around that. Sibs, I wanted to ask you a question. So where do you think this comes from? Like, why do you think that a lot of people, this isn't true for your marriage, but why do you think that people suddenly flip the script when they get married? Where I have my ideas about where that comes from, but I'd like to know what your opinion is. Because literally, people flip the script, and you're just like, what happened here? Like, we were us. Why have we suddenly changed? Because there's now a title.
I'm not sure if it's flipping the script per se. I think it's just going back to who they are. So people will often pretend to be someone that they aren't, to, you know, get the fish, you know? And then once you've got the fish, I find a lot of men and a lot of Black men have got an idea of what marriage is and what roles are within marriage. And as much as they pretend to be very open and free, etc., beforehand, they don't really. yes, as Bonella says, due to pressure of family and friends. So they grow up in these environments where you're told that a man does this. When he has a wife, the wife has these things that they must do. And then they put pressure on you to do that. You as Palisa, you as Lindy were to do that. I don't think that it's flipping the script per se. I think it's always been in the back of their heads. And it's always been a she'll change or he'll change. As a woman, you'll date a guy and they don't do whatever it's the traditional things are, whether they are, I don't know, filling up your car with petrol, washing your car every single week, fixing the light, the traditional things that people look at in relationships. And then when you are suddenly now in this relationship, it's oh my gosh, a man does this. My friend's husband does this. My friend's wife does this. So I don't know. It's definitely not flipping the script. I think it's an expectation that they have. It's a conversation that I actually had with someone today where I was saying, so you see me as marriage material. What is this marriage material? I need to understand, because I would hate for you to suddenly to marry me because you want to marry me, and then you have expectations of me that are not who I am now, because you've got this thing of marriage material. Define this marriage material. So people definitely in their heads, they think, okay, this person's going to do this and do this. This is what marriage entails. And it's unfair. It's unfair for themselves as well, because you're flipping the script. You're going to be unhappy because the other person is not that. So I think it definitely is, when you're in a relationship, this is, Humanati, we go out, she dresses like this. Oh, when you're wearing shorts, he's like, yo, my baby, yo, you look hot. The minute that ring goes on, or the minute you start living together and it becomes more permanent, there is an ownership. What did we call it? Not jealousy. But there's an ownership. That's it. There's a possessiveness of, this is mine. How do I keep it mine? Because I see it continuing to be the same way it was when I saw it and decided that I want it. Now, what if someone else also sees that he goes, oh, I want that. So I must shut down all those things that I wanted. I loved the shorts. I loved the smoking. I loved the taking shots. I loved the dancing on the table. And that's what I liked about her. And that's what pulled me in. How do I keep her for myself? It's to not show or not let other people see that. That's what I think.
Yeah, that I completely agree. But I think as women as well, we need to be, okay, I can't speak for all women, except I've had friends and we've all had these conversations, so I'm speaking for all women. I don't think that it's only men that are guilty of this. Welcome back, Larry. I don't think it's only men. Okay, Larry, so basically, let me just fill you in. So basically, the conversation is about why it is that when people get into a relationship that suddenly has a title, then the script is flipped. You know what I mean? Whereas certain things were okay at a certain point, they suddenly become not okay. Why suddenly you can't wear shorts? Why suddenly you are smoking, you can't smoke anymore? And I'm saying now that it's not just men who flip the script. I know for a fact that as females, we tend to also show, to put on a certain picture, to present ourselves as something that we aren't, in order to get the men. You know what I mean? Every time he comes to the house, we are cooking for him. Every time we go to his house, we are cleaning the house. Listen, we are within the laundry. We are within the unpacking and repacking the shelves. You get what I mean? So we are also guilty of this. You know what I mean? It's not only men who are guilty of this. Linz, I want to ask you, why do you think it is that people resort to basically being frauds in order to secure a relationship for themselves? Because really, you're being a fraud. I can definitely say that I have definitely been the girl to say you must always put your best foot forward in order to. I'm not that girl anymore, but I've definitely been that girl who's like, put your best foot forward in order to secure. But once you have secured, then you become yourself, and then the guy is like, oh, what happened?
Okay, I've also definitely been due to the environments that I was raised in and the information I was fed by society. I won't lie, my mother didn't really feed me this information, but society and various spiritual environments did feed me that whole idea of what you need to be once you are in a position to be a wife or in a serious relationship, so to speak. And I think the issue then is not knowing oneself, because I would like to say, fortunately for me, I didn't end up in a position where I ended up getting married for various reasons. And because of that, I grew and I evolved more and more into myself, and I was given, and life gave me that opportunity. And I can definitely say now that when I meet someone, I am in a position where I'm able to be like, this is who I am. These are my desires. This is where I'm going. This is what I want. And I hope that you are able to accommodate that, or body it at least, and love it rather. Not even accommodate it, actually scrap accommodate. That you are able to love who I am and love where I want to go. And I evolved into the free-spirited version of myself. And I really appreciate the person that I've dated thus far, because they've embraced that completely. And without any issues of, you need to cook for me all the time, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's really just a give and take. What I can give, I'll give. What I can receive, I'll receive, you know, and you kind of grow in the relationship. And I think the issue is then we need to unlearn the things that we were taught. Because they stay in our subconscious minds. Because from the time you're a kid, as a woman, you are taught you need to do this so that when you're a wife, you are able to. You need to do A, B, C, D, because then when you're a wife, you will be able to. You'll be able to keep a man. You'll be able to get married. You'll be a good wife, blah, 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 blah. And then when you hit adulthood and you are in your mid-20s and you're not married, it's like, but you're so amazing. Why aren't you married? I started to interrogate all of those things, and I was like, why do people ask these questions? Why is it necessary for me to be married because I can cook, I can clean, and I'm a loving human being? So apart from that, no one will be able to accept me as who I am. Yes, there's that part of me, but there's more to me. I like piercings, I like tattoos, I'm opinionated, and I like to push people. I might not be as aggressive as most, but I'm definitely underlying, like, pushing. Like, I'm definitely that kind of person who'll be like, but why don't you do this and this? But this doesn't work. So don't you think this would be better for you? You know, that type of thing. And I've had quite a few male friends say to me that they married the people they married because it's comfortable and they feel like they're kings and they're put on a pedestal. And also women. And there is something wrong with that. An imbalance, because you need to feel like you're complete and whole within yourself and not need another human being to come into the picture and be like, I'm putting you on a pedestal, you're amazing, and this is what you are. And then, because automatically, once you start to allow yourself to view who you are and your life through someone else's eyes, then you start to kind of mold yourself into that picture. Because after some time, their issues will also come into play. We're all adults, guys. We all have issues. So if you're already seeing yourself with someone else's eyes, you automatically, when they start to be like, Lindy, I am not sure who's this person that you're now showing us, you know, then you're going to be like, oh, okay, maybe this is the wrong part of me that I'm showing, and then try to cut back. But I believe in allowing every person to be themselves completely. And that's where honesty and transparency comes in. And we need to unlearn all of these things that we were taught, all of these Cinderella stories, Sleeping Beauty. Like, really, guys, we need to get rid of all of that nonsense, because it puts us at a back foot, because we are in a position where we are, as women, I'm talking as a woman, we are able to be independent and push for our dreams and desires and make sure that they come to fruition. And then at the same time, you're waiting for a man to come and save you. That makes no sense. Because then when the man comes into play, and let's say he earns less than you, because let's be honest, when we're talking about gender functionality, unfortunately, when it comes to the man, most women believe that the man must earn more and provide completely for everything. And then where does love come into play? We believe in love.
Yeah.
You know, how do we then get to know the person? So if the person doesn't have money, they're not of value. So I think for me, it's an issue of valuing each other at a place where we are honest with who we are and where we are, and understand that we need to unlearn all the things that we were taught, like from generations ago, because these things get passed down. Yeah.
Funny, like halfway through what you were saying, I was just thinking about Sibonilo's comment. Let me put it back up, where he said they'll flip the script due to pressure of their families and friends. Guys, I think that we're losing a lot of value in the people that we love and we want to be with, because we are so focused on the things that have been affirmed and drilled into us as good. So Vanessa can't be good because she's got a mohawk with lines and she's got piercings and she's got tattoos. So she can't be a good wife. And that literally puts to the side everything that's good about Vanessa. The fact that she's loyal, the fact that she's driven, the fact that she's affectionate, the fact that she's nurturing, the fact that she breathes life into people, the fact that she's complimentary, that you get what I mean. I think that we've lost so much in the gauging of the value of the people we have in our lives, because if the picture isn't correct, if it doesn't match what our parents, our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents said is correct, then somehow it's not quite right, and you're missing something, you know, and you're missing something. So Sibs, how do you think we should be navigating the interrogation of the value of the romantic partners that we have in our lives, regardless of whether it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a life partner or whatever it is? How do we start to connect to what's actually important, instead of being so focused on surface things and putting so much emphasis on surface things? And I don't blame us for being there, because it's something that has been, you know what I mean, imposed on us for so long, so it becomes obvious. How does the man marry the woman he loves instead of marrying the woman that the family will more easily accept?
I think it's very hard, because you're basically saying to society and to everyone that's grown up with you and to your parents, I reject everything that you said. Does that make sense? And people, generally, it's very hard for people to do that, to reject what their parents say. Some people find it easy and you know, move forward. I think the three of us here are probably more likely to be able to say to our parents, I hear you, but most people can't do that. They don't they don't have that thing. They're still terrified of their parents. It's just the way that we grew up, and it's the way that we socialize, and the way that we are. It's very, very hard, because people fear that if they do suddenly change and decide to follow their hearts, that they will lose their families, they will lose their friends. And those are things that happen because we know Black families aren't scared to go, hi, we're not going to speak to you then because this. Even like if we know about Christianity and Christianity versus amadlozi, that kind of thing. Those are already things where families can cut you off immediately. Where now, when you are choosing who and what kind of person you love, you know what I mean? When you are choosing to say, she's got all the qualities that I want in a woman, and your mother's going, but she's got a tattoo. How? Okay, but what's that got to do with the qualities? I think it's really, really hard to do and to stand up for yourself, especially the way that we're raised. We're not raised to talk up against our parents and to reject what our parents say or question what our parents say. So when we do find that thing, it's like you go, Ish, I know that this is right for me, but I'm going to do what's right for everyone else because that'll make my life easier. You know? And it will make your life easier on the outside, but inside you know that I didn't actually do the right thing. And then, dare I say, I think that is how infidelity and stuff like that kind of happens. Not all the time, but I think it definitely gives room for infidelity because you're not happy. I always say to people, in a relationship, the key thing is happiness. If you are happy, you will take your happiness into your relationship and you will carry it into your relationship, and your relationship will be full of happiness. But if you're not happy, how are you going? If you don't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of other people. So if you aren't happy, the whole thing is not going to be happy. So that's maybe why we also have the issues that we have in relationships that in this country, where there's so much infidelity, there's so much dishonesty, because you're not happy because you have basically said, I'm going to do what everyone else says I must do because I'm too scared to be rejected. And it's a high possibility that you will be rejected. So I understand why people choose that route. It's just really painful that they have to choose that route. But we need, and we know, guys, as COVID has taught us. Well, it's taught me because I live alone. We need people. We need people around us. We need community, né? And people are scared of losing that community. They're scared of losing that foundation, that base, that thing that they grew up with. And they'll rather choose to go with what everyone else says. It's the same way you'll find women who marry men because they have money. They're not in love with them. But because at home they say, you're not going to be married to someone who doesn't have money. You're not going to be married to someone who doesn't have a car. You're not going to be married. We're not accepting anyone in the house that's like that. And they go on to choose to marry these people and they're unhappy. So it's the same thing. So I want to say that there's something that can be done, but I'm not sure if there is, because I don't know if everyone else has the strength that we have to be able to go, no, I'm swimming upstream. I'm not swimming downstream. I'm swimming upstream. I'm swimming against everything else that everyone says I must do. So it's hard. It's really, really hard because people don't want to lose what they have and start all over again. Your 30s. Now you must, start all over. New friends, no family supporting you in your marriage, because also within a marriage you need and want family support. So it's hard. So you rather choose to go, you know what? I'm going to choose what I know is acceptable in my family. It might not be what I want, it might not be the woman that I want. But I get it. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's fair to the person, but I get why they can't do it.
Wow. A lot of the things that we've said for me have touched on two things. One being societal and family, living up to societal and family expectations. And another one being self-accountability and responsibility, I guess. My thing is, Sibs, you talked on, you don't know if there's a solution. The solution is quite difficult, and I think amongst us, because we've been friends for a while, these are conversations we've had like in bits and pieces. The tough part is understanding that, yes, this is my family and this is what my family has raised me to expect and has raised me to be. However, this is who I am as Ulindiwe, and this is what I want, and this is what I desire. And allowing yourself to be an individual, but also be part of a community. Does that make sense? Because like Sim said earlier, we do need each other. We need community. We need to feed off each other's energies. I talk about energies a lot, but it's really, really important. But also we need to understand the value of also being in solitude and being an individual and making decisions for yourself as an individual, as much as you're part of a community, be it your family or be it your friends or be it society. You need to understand the parameters within which each of those communities affect your life as an individual, and be like, okay, when it comes to my romantic relationship, my family fine have taught me this, but however, this is as far as it goes, and this is where it stops. And I'm not going to take anything further than that. I understand why they taught me to be like this. I understand why they taught me to expect this, but this is what I want. And this is what I feel. The issue that the thing that I've seen over the past few years with a lot of people who are in cliques and friendships is that I will fall in love, for instance, for example, with Palisa. And Palisa is not the kind of person that my friends would view as a person who's, let's say, for instance, who's the perfect match for me. And I will talk about Palisa and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I met Palisa, so amazing. This is what she does for me, whatever, whatever. But then my friends will be like, yeah, but she's like this, but she's like that, and it doesn't work. But Palisa makes me happy. So then when then do I decide to choose myself over what my friends prefer and what my friends really approve of? And that's where we need to learn how to draw the line. We need to understand that as much as our friends and family and society have opinions, we need to be able to say, okay, this is your opinion. I respect it, but I don't need to take it into my own personal experience. This is what I want, and this is what makes me happy. You know what I mean? There are people who don't like people who are possessive. It's such a strange thing for a person who's polyamorous, I know, but I enjoy being in a relationship with a person who has a certain sense of possession over a relationship with me, where they own it. I don't want a person who's going to sit back and be like, do whatever you want, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because then there's a certain level of, okay, you're not invested in it as much as I wanted you to be. You really don't care. Part of yourself that you're not giving to this relationship. So for me, we need to learn how to balance it out. Stop judging our families and society for what they want, but be like, that's your opinion. However, this is what makes me happy. Yes, it does. It doesn't fit the construct that you have taught me that I should believe in and adhere to, but this is what makes me happy and this is what I've chosen. Your opinion is yours, and that's that. Yeah.
I'd like to read a comment from Tembizo. He says, the issue is, before the relationship is official, it's somewhere in the ether, floating around, NJ, but once it's given a title, we try to fit into a more traditional structure with traditional roles so that the relationship makes sense to us and looks like the relationships we grew up around. And we try to create conditions for it to work like those relationships, conditions that are informed by opinions outside of the relationship. I think he's 100% spot on there, you know, and before Lynn spoke, Sim was speaking about how it's difficult upstream. I don't think that following your heart, your intuition, your discernment, your feeling, the things that feel natural to you should be swimming upstream. You know, I think that we've been given, I'm not saying you are saying that, sir, but that is our situation. That is 100% our situation when you choose to navigate driven by these abstract things like feeling,
Chemistry.
discernment, chemistry, these things that you can't touch, then it's almost like you're a child, you're not grown up, you're not practical. And it frustrates me so much. So how do we guys, how do the three of us then change the narrative for our children? You know, I think one of the many things I've said to my child is always make sure you are being treated with dignity and respect, and that your gut feels right, and that you're comfortable and you can sleep peacefully and you're not walking in anxiety. So how do we do that? Because I think our generation needs to change the narrative. It can't be undone with us. We are not in a position where we can convince our parents that what we have chosen is now right. And we're just like, I love him, the chemistry and our energy. And I just feel this profound peace when I'm with him. They're never going to understand. They're never going to understand. But how do we put our children in a position where they're comfortable to come to us and be like, wow, mom, I really like this person, and I'm going to be with them because I feel safe, and because I feel like they respect me, and I feel like they treasure me, and I feel like they encourage my success, and they feel like that's enough. How do we do that? How do we change the narrative?
I think our kids, the three of us, our kids have it very easy. Our kids have one of the easiest lives because they have parents who are just like, tell me how you feel, tell me everything. Even if it's wrong, I want to know. We're open. They're lucky. What needs to happen is the parents that are not that, right? The parents that are not us, who are, I've been called a hippie many times. The parents that are not hippies, it's fine. I take it, I ride it, whatever. If me doing what makes me happy makes me a hippie, I'm a hippie. It's the parents that need to start being open and honest with their kids. They need to start also showing their children when they're in love that they're in love. They need to start explaining why they're in love. You know, kids will ask questions. Why is so-and-so always here? This is why they're always here. This is how they make me feel. Because you're teaching them that when you're in a relationship, you must get things for yourself. You also must find happiness within that relationship. It's not just about that other person. So it's about being honest and saying, this is why I'm with this person. This is why I'm with your mom, or why I'm with your dad, because they make me feel this way. Children learn through seeing, in the same way that Sponila or Tembis was saying that those traditional, what we're doing is we're pursuing those traditional relationships that we've seen. We need to make the traditional relationships suit us or suit our kids, so that they're not adhering to, okay, this is what a person does in a relationship, or this is your role, but rather this is how you should feel in a relationship. So when you're in a relationship, that's what they should see. They should see your happiness. They should see the joy. When your phone rings and it's your person, you must be like, yeah. Your kids should see that. You know what I mean? And go, oh, this person makes them happy. I think that's how we need to teach our kids. So not go, okay, as a girl, you should learn how to bake, blah, 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 blah. It's as a girl, you should be able to smile. You should feel warm inside when this person calls you. You should feel respected. Does that make sense? So it's switching the narrative to become less of a physical things that you must do, but things that are not touchable. We're talking about things that you can't touch. It's about the non-tangibles that you need to be feeling. And that's what we need to be telling our kids about. We need to explain what love is, what it feels like. You know, it's amazing. Love is the most amazing thing when it's done right. And we need to teach our kids that love is the most amazing thing when done right. And that's what you should be having in a relationship. And forget about teaching your kids the physical, the roles, this is what you should. A man must do this in a relationship. A man must know, how does this person make you feel? Because once you know how they make you feel, you will behave to suit the way that they make you feel. Does that make sense? You will behave in the way that suits whatever that is. It might not be bending on your knee and giving them food on a tray, but it might be other things that they know that you are compromising on what you would normally never, ever, ever do. But because of the way that they make you feel, you're just like, how do I show you? So I tell you all the time, right? But how else do I show you? I'm going to go out of my box and do something completely out of, when I'm in love, I see it because I do things that are out. I'll be like, are you hungry? Do you know what I mean? And it's 10 o'clock and the electricity just came back on and I'm like, let me make you food. Because I'm full of love and I want to show that love. So, but we have to teach our kids that being in a relationship is not about the physical tasks. It's about your feeling inside, and your feeling inside will then reveal itself, not now, whenever, in whatever other way. And then you'll be able to go, okay, this is what I want to do for them out of my heart, not because society says I must do it.
So much of what you're saying is resonating with me. I was having a conversation with someone, and I was saying to them that relationships are a lot like sex. The best sex generally tends to be had when both people are givers, when they just want to give to each other. And the problem is that we've been taught to navigate relationships with entitlement and expectation. I'm sitting here and I'm like, so what have you done for me lately? You know what I mean? Instead of dun, dun, ooh, yeah. Anyway, back to, and if we were both sitting there not expecting, the funny thing is when you walk outside of expectation, you receive so much more. It's a very weird thing when you're just like, my focus is loving you and her focus is, my focus is loving you. That is when both people receive the most and when both people want to give the most. So I think that it's our responsibility to teach our children to navigate in that way. You know what I mean? Just be a giver. Obviously navigate safely. See where you are the only giver. But don't be scared of being a giver. But do not be in a situation where you feel like there is expectation and entitlement and you are left void. And that is okay. Okay, I'm going to read one more comment. Deborah says, cooking and cleaning is a life skill and not a checklist for a partner. I completely agree. But I also know that cooking for someone is an entire love language as well. And one thing I will say, I'm an amazing cook. But I tend to cook for the man who doesn't expect it more than the man who feels he's entitled to it. And that's a fact. Because the man who's just like, no, babe, it's fine. I'm like, oh, darling, I want to cook for you. And when I give him his food, he's like, oh, honey. You know what I mean? He's grateful. Gratitude goes a long way. Acknowledgement goes a long way. You get what I mean? Not when I'm giving you your food and I become void of being a human being because you treat me like a robot. You don't express any of those things because it's my responsibility. So I think we maybe need to re-engage with the value in our partners outside of what's been taught to us and what's been imposed on us. So Lerato Maketa was not here for this conversation. Next week is our season finale before we go on a production break. I will speak to him about coming on again as a guest because we have the most amazing conversations with him. But I feel like it was a good show. We had a good time. Thank you so much for the engagement. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for believing in what we're doing on the platform. Because real conversation is something that is neglected so much, and it's something that is so important. So we'll see you guys next week with our last episode of the season, but we'll be back bigger, better, hotter, more controversial, maybe. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.